So welcome, beautiful women, to our first roundtable. Just setting this up to go live in Facebook for us all as well. Beautiful women. Excellent. Awesome. All right. Now I'm just going to bring it up on my phone so I can see any comments. It won't be a second. Perfect. All right, welcome. Roundtable 1 of our Unapologetic book launch. I'm Steph Lavelle. I'm so excited to be facilitating this space for you all today. So our official opening ceremony, we've had a couple of technical issues with that, so that will go live into the, will be dropped into this space a little bit later on. And everybody can go back and experience that in all its glory. That will go live. A couple of our beautiful authors that have facilitated that for us this morning. So be sure to check that out when it drops in the space. So I am so pumped to welcome you all to this beautiful space, Roundtable 1, Unapologetic Authenticity in Life and Practice. Firstly, I just want to bring you all into the space and just give you a moment to take a breath and just settle into this space that's being prepared, that's been lovingly and, wholeheartedly prepared for you all to enjoy today, and for us all to share some of our mind-blowing life experiences and wisdom with you. So, as a Wiradjuri woman, I'm very honoured to ask you all to just honour the traditional custodians of the land that you live on, wherever that is in the world. So I'm very passionate about honouring traditional owners of the land worldwide, not just in my country. So I live on a Wabakal land. If you know the land or the custodians, the name of the land that you're living on, then please acknowledge them. Just, in your mind right now, and thank them for the opportunity to be here and to be on this sacred earth, that's supporting us every minute of every day. First and foremost, I would like to introduce our amazing authors that are with me today. So our beautiful book, which releases tomorrow, Unapologetic, Shedding Authenticity to Become Uniquely You, is a phenomenal project of collective stories from women across the lifespan and women of all backgrounds. And it is so inspiring to have the 5 of us here today, some very different backgrounds, very different life experiences, and very different passions and areas of genius that we work in. So quick little intro of everybody that's here. Firstly, we have Adele Wolfenden, who I believe is our youngest author in the book. She's absolutely magic. She's a facilitator of sacred journeys, and she's here to help guide those who are willing to remember and embody their full wild soul expression. Magic. So blessed that you're here, babe. Next, Naomi Wilde, gorgeous wild woman. She's a visionary artist, yoga teacher, shamanic practitioner, and transpersonal psychotherapist. Thank you for being here, gorgeous woman. Absolute magic. Penny Hawkins is an authorised civil celebrant specialising in ritual and ceremony, and creator and facilitator of the Journey Home to Soul program and workshop series. And Natalie Brown, who is an international light leader, activator and spiritual mentor, the founder of the Divine Light Academy and Ascension and Centaura Cosmic Ascension Energy Healing. Absolutely magic. These women just blow my mind. And then there's me, Stephanie Lavelle, CEO and founder of Dark Empress Enterprises, and I'm supporting soulful entrepreneurs to monetize their genius and maximize their unapologetic impact in business and life. So that's a little bit from me about each of us, and you're now about to gain a lot more insight into these magical women and all that we have to share for you today. So our topic and our conversation is going to be all around unapologetic authenticity and what it's like to be an unapologetic woman in life and practice. So to be living in that every day, it's an interesting journey, and we're going to get, you know, a nice little picture of that today. So please, if you're joining us live, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so stoked you're here. It's so beautiful to have people joining with us and engaging in the conversation. So don't hold back. Be sure to say hello in the comments. Be sure to drop in any questions if there's something that sparks your interest. Be sure to let us know, you know, if there's something that's said that you want more expansion on, or if it really, you know, touches you. We'd love to hear from you. So please be sure to engage. If there is any questions, if we don't get to them throughout the conversation, it'll be just a nice, beautiful, open conversation. If we don't get to them and don't cover anything during the conversation, we will do our best to absolutely get to it at the end. So this will go for about 60 to 90 minutes, depending on how passionate we all get. So probably closer to 90 minutes. So maybe make sure you've got your water, cup of tea, bring a champagne if you want. It's a party, right? So we are super stoked to be here. Naomi's got her sparkles on. We're ready to rock. And I actually decided to put some makeup on because it was going to a party. So let's kick it off, ladies. Given the topic of this roundtable and the book, right? Unapologetic. Let's talk about, what does it actually mean? What does unapologetic authenticity mean to you? When you hear this in your world, when it enters your vortex, what are you thinking about? What drops in? So whoever would like to share, please go right ahead. Go, babe.
All right, well, I'll just kick it off and say, for me, it's the showing up as my most raw, or I'm saying the word, raw self in every moment. So what that looks like is allowing my emotions to be as they are in the moment and letting it flow. It means feeling the pull towards where I'm being guided and allowing myself to go there even if it's hard, and having to let go of something and then, yeah, journeying in that direction. Yeah, it means being, yeah, really in relationships and being around others, fully being present with them, and responding as my body responds. So it means being in my body and letting my body speak as part of my soul that is coming through this vessel. So I guess, yeah, for me, it's a lot about soul expression and beyond this kind of vessel that you see. I really feel like there's this timeless piece that wants to just keep moving through and out into the world. I'll leave it there for now. That feels fun.
So good. Go, Nat.
So, Adele, that's beautiful. That's beautifully expressed. And I also feel like the word here is vulnerability, really honoring all parts of you, the strong parts, the vulnerable parts, you know, the parts that's not flowing so well, you know, and all your experiences, and really allowing that growth to permeate and move through every cell of your being, and allowing yourself to be truly seen. And first, seeing yourself. Being unapologetic is all about also seeing yourself first, and allowing that which you see to then translate or radiate out to others as well. So yeah, I definitely feel that it was a journey for me of finding what that meant for me to be truly seeing myself first, and then allowing that to radiate out to other people. Because when you do that and you are fully standing, embodying your true essence, your full divine self, and feeling your body, feeling it move through you, in every part of your life, like you said, Adele, your relationships, everything, then you can be so much more stronger and anchored in everything that you do in this life. Yeah, so that's what's coming through for me.
Awesome.
So resonate with what you've both said, Adele and Natalie. Particularly that embodiment, the embodiment and the vulnerability really are two big pieces for me. I guess I often think about the path to authenticity being one of remembering. And I feel like I had to do, and still am, like this is an ongoing process and probably will go my whole life, hopefully. Where, I've had to remember underneath the conditioning, like I've had to go into and deeply weed out all of the stuff that I've taken on from others or from outside or expectations or doctrine or whatever that's been. And I've actually had to really check in with the fiber of my being as to what resonates as truth. And I guess sometimes that comes also with choosing some really good key mentors and wisdom figures that can kind of shine a light on pieces maybe that I missed because I was so enmeshed in systems of stories that I no longer align with. But I guess one of the parts of authenticity is this, it's such a powerful ownership. Like it's such a powerful kind of returning to, hang on, my heart longs for this or is this or burns in this way, and not editing myself because that piece doesn't fit in that, structure or that conversation. Or it's either like I change the choice of the structures or the conversations that I participate in. But also if I'm there, that I allow my full flavor to be present. Yeah. And I guess that takes a little bit of discretion as well. It doesn't mean I kind of like, charge like a bull at a gate to kind of be like, hey, this is me. But it's just this kind of steadiness. Yeah.
I'd love to follow that. That resonates. Everything resonates for me. But I think for me, in the book, my chapter is actually called Truth and Power. And just thinking about what you were just sharing then, Naomi, the concept of using discretion, that became a really, really, really important word to me, probably about 5 or 6 years ago now, maybe a little bit longer. And it just was so important to me to just have discretion with everything. And now I can see where my unapologetic authenticity comes and is embodied from my soul self through my body, like Adele was speaking about, and expressed through truth and power and grace. And for me, the grace taps into the discretion and being in feminine energy, knowing, when to allow my masculine to lead and when to soften into my femininity and really be creative and be in flow with that, that aspect of who I am, given the circumstances, like you were saying, depending on who I'm with, what circumstances I'm in, what role I'm in at that point in time. But it's really, for me, it's about letting go of that mask. And I know there's always conversation around, finding it hard to actually be seen authentically on social media. And for me, I am one where I don't know, I feel like every time I show up, what you see is exactly where I'm at that point in time. I'm also a manifesting generator, so it's, it's sort of inevitable. But knowing for me, it's having integrity with myself and knowing that I'm not putting on a mask dependent on, whatever's happening, that if I'm triggered or if something occurs for me that makes me sort of look into things, that I look into that through a lens of, self-reflection first and then looking outwards and always coming back to that truth, power and grace. And integrity, making sure I'm always in integrity with what I've lived and who I know myself to be now. I love what you were saying about letting go of the conditioning and, letting that all fall away, because that for me has been a huge piece of my life. And it's just, I find so much power, when you just come home, just like Natalie was saying, just coming home to that space of like that's who I actually really am. So yeah, that's me. Penny, where are you at, babe?
Yeah, there's elements of everything that each of you are sharing that I definitely has been a big part of my journey. For me specifically, it was around labels, and it was about taking on the labels that society gives us, the boxes of comfort that they put us in, that, in those boxes they have different conditions and criteria, and they have these ways of, people can relate to you by these labels. And with those labels come a lot of the things that you've been talking about as well, the masks, the conditioning, the beliefs versus my own values, the ways that we keep ourselves safe as we go about life, is a very easy thing to do when you are in your labels and you've taken on all that conditioning and everything else. So for me, it's been a really deep process of looking at all of them and understanding what they mean to me. What, as Naomi was saying, coming back in and actually discerning what is me, what is mine, what is being projected and I've taken on. So yeah, to me, being the unapologetic, authentic self is unraveling all of that. I talk about it in terms of the human operating system versus the soul operating system. The soul is the core of who I actually really am, whereas the human operating system is the mask that I put on to go out into the world, and to function in the world. But not all of it's good for you, as my journey has uncovered. Yeah.
So much power in that, babe. I'd love for you, given what you've just shared, I'd love for you to go deeper and let us know, and then obviously open up to the whole space. But what was there something that actually instigated you in embracing your unapologetic essence? Like, given what you've just shared about, acknowledging all those labels and the conditioning and delving really deep into that, was there actually like a catalytic moment that set you on this path of, I need to become unapologetic in who I am?
Yeah, it absolutely. And it probably wasn't, I probably didn't realize in the time that was where I was going to end up. Definitely. So I'll acknowledge that up front. And I'll put it in another term in line with my beliefs, in that I believe if you don't listen to what your soul is here to do and here to offer and how to be, and if you are being inauthentic within your body, then I believe that the universe will put challenges in front of us until we actually listen. And that, for me, very much, I've had a lot of, I talk a lot in my chapter about 7 labels, and they started from the moment I was born because I was adopted. So there was a sequence of events, but the final one was the bit that, really, I have been, and I have to be careful because it's still before the courts, but I've been through court action, and it was where strangers defamed me on social media, quite significantly, and to the point where it ended up being court action, and we're into year 4 of that, and a judgment's coming in the next couple of weeks. Yeah. And that was it was significant for a number of reasons. The obvious thing is that as the person taking the action, I had to defend myself. How can you defend yourself if you don't know who you are? And I was also made to look at, okay, what have you done through your life? So that was that was the moment I realized, oh my God, I've identified as my labels. I've forgotten all the stuff that I've actually done. So it was it was a massive mirror, and I had to stand there on the stand for 2 days, giving witness to these complete strangers and sell myself effectively. But, they tried to challenge that as well and say, well, actually, no, this is who you are. And I was like, no, I'm not.
Wow, what an experience.
Yeah, that was my turning point of, oh my God, I've been walking around as all these false identities and these labels.
Yeah.
A best gift I could have received. Back to my authentic self.
So good. What about you other ladies?
Yeah, I feel, oh my gosh, Penny, just you sharing that, just really opens the heart. And Thank you. Yeah, I feel like I've always been a bit of a rebel. Like I've always wanted to push everything outside the box. So that's a label probably in itself. But yeah, I never wanted to do things the way that people wanted me to do it. Because in my earlier life, I had to fit in a box, and that was very much from my father's side, because he came from a background being in the army, and it was very strict. And I literally folded my clothes in little blocks and color coded in my cupboard because I wanted to please him. I wanted him to love me. I wanted him to see me. And I used to fold my bed corners under like an army bed. That was who I was. And so very early on in my life, and that pivotal moment of, this is not who I am. I am this creative soul. I'm flowing. I'm not, wanting to be kept in a box. And there's quite a lot of emotions coming up with this, clearly talking about it. Yeah, and I have always been, well, since that moment of understanding of who I was, and actually shutting down my gifts to almost kind of go on a journey of finding myself again, I had to, it was this kind of riding the roller coaster of being really open and honest with myself about who I wanted to have in my energy, who I wanted to be in relationships with, and all of that. And it's this beautiful journey. It is a journey of finding, that unapologetic self, but also your soul is always unapologetic. It's always calling you forward, isn't it? To that moment of realization of who you are and who you're not. And I feel that for me, and I'm so glad that you said this as well, Steve, what you see is what you get. I dropped the F-bomb. I am a very passionate woman. I say it like it is. My husband's always like, tone it down a little bit,
You met me, babe. Have we met?
I know, he's only been married to me for like 21 years. But it's that moment of, why do I have to keep quiet about something that is part of me? It's my truth. It's my soul. It's who I am. It bubbles up from like this fountain, So, and that makes me feel all juicy and happy and blissful when I project or when I radiate that out to other people. And it really invites them to be unapologetic and to be that vulnerable, truthful self that they are. And then they're like, let me just drop the mask because I have permission to do that, right? Yeah, thank you.
So much goodness.
I can flow on from there.
Go for it.
Yeah, I really resonate, Natalie, with that feeling like from as young as I can remember, this like almost knowing that I was being guided and that I had to just follow the path that was set for me in such a strange way. It was almost like, I ended up going to university and studying occupational therapy, but the reason I did that was because it seemed like at the time that it was the most broad option I had, and I knew I was going to university. I don't know where that came from. I was the first in my line with my sister, and we both went, but I wanted something that was so broad because I knew that we as humans, or before I knew the spiritual terms or whatever, soul and spirit, that wasn't in my vocab, but it was like I just knew there was so much more to life than just going down and just working with the body, or just working in one kind of little section. So I ventured from there into eventually I was like doing handstands and wearing bare shoes at work, and somehow I managed to get away with it. And I just love how even in that little like nook that we were in, we weren't like, my allied health section was like separated from the main section, and we we were just a bit quirky, and that kind of opened the door to then being like, actually, this isn't really firing me up anymore either. I'm going to go and do yoga. So then that kind of just flowed into being in yoga, realizing, oh, there's a whole like spiritual side to this. It's not just moving my body because I'm recovering from running, which is kind of how I got into yoga in the first place. But I just feel like, yeah, piece by piece, and I definitely still in it. As you said, I'm probably the youngest author, I would probably say, but I just think in this, every moment of every day is this, it's an opportunity to either not speak what is actually what actually I'm feeling, even if I don't have the words for it, because that's been a big part of my journey, is like actually opening up my throat and speaking my truth. So it's like a, yeah, even if I don't have the words, if my voice shakes and whatever else, it's like allowing it to just come out in whatever way that it can, so that I can move through the energy and I can move through the blocks and I can be me. So yeah, I guess that's been my journey to now, and then that's allowed me to weave my way somehow into the work that I just have created myself without much formal training at all under the masculine paradigm. It's been very much guided by all the forces, and I'm gonna keep doing that.
So much goodness. Yeah, you will. I love it. And I've just got to say, Adele, like, I absolutely adore witnessing you, because I think to myself, like, I became a mum at 24, and I think, imagine if I was Adele and had babies and was so conscious and aware and open, you know, in my 20s. Like, you're remarkable. And I think that of everybody. But I think for me, it really does resonate because of my life experiences. And I just...
You got me good.
I can see where my life experiences would have been impacted if I'd had curiosity and awareness and the things that you've got, and the trust in yourself to follow that path that you were speaking on, how you just always knew you were guided. Because like Natalia, I shut down my gifts and I was like, oh, you know, they're not spoken of, so they mustn't be okay. So I just love that. And while, you know, as a being, I fully comprehend and I understand and I embrace the fact that I am the woman I am because of my experiences. So I wouldn't change a thing. But fuck, I celebrate you. And as I celebrate any woman that's, you know, making that step. But to see women that are, you know, at such a young age and just so brave and courageous, because it's so easy to be caught up in the crowd. And, you know, I've got a teenage son who, like you, is super brave and courageous. And I find it so inspiring to be around young people that have got the guts to stand out when, you know, the rest of their cohort might be questioning them and saying you should be going this way. And you're like, no, I know what's right for me and I'm going to do this. So I just really celebrate that and celebrate the fact that you've known that and followed that for such a long time. I just needed to share that.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Definitely. You share, Penny, and then I'll share in relation to the topic.
I just want to add on to what you have just said, Steph, to do with you, Adele. And I'm also a parent of 2 teenage boys. And if we think about what we're talking about here, and we're talking about authenticity, and many of us have shared what we've had to undo to become that.
Yeah.
And you are at a tender age doing that. And I too have one of my sons in particular who hasn't shut down his gifts, like listening to both Steph and Natalia, and I know I did it as well, shutting down that unseen support system. And I, as someone who's nearly 50, am so inspired when we've got younger people. I'm inspired by the people that are our age and older as well for the work they're doing, because that's creating change. But it's the younger people coming up and the layers of the different age groups, and they're, you know what, I am just going to be me. I'm going to do me. I'm going to be me. And, I think, and then they're going to go on and have families and the rest of it, and hopefully maintain that attitude because of their strong conviction in, no, this is who I am and it doesn't matter, despite what they come up against. And that gives me so much hope and inspiration for the future, because that's where there'll be more and more and more of people like us, instead of it being a difficult thing to at times do.
Yeah, it's so powerful. Yeah, go babe.
Oh, get me?
Speak up. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So look, I just listening to you guys talking then, and what you were just saying, Penny, about the difficulty. I did want to just touch in on that, because I actually really feel like, as much as, there's pain that I have around that pathway to really taking ownership, I also feel like it was a fire that forged me. So, I also want that to be an encouragement for anybody that is in the fire or feels the fear of that flame, because, I mean, for me, becoming authentic, I kind of feel like I didn't really ever have much of a choice in some ways. I mean, you always have a choice, right? But there was just this sense of like, authentic or die,
Yes.
If I don't be authentic, then I'm just gonna, like, I can't.
Totally
and I actually, and I actually, all the way through my life, I've been persecuted for being outside the box, all the way through primary school, all the way through high school, massive bullying, massive kind of social issues. And yet there was just always this, for me, it just felt like I can't hide. I think in some ways I'm blessed with a special kind of brain that made it almost like I don't even know how to. I just actually have to keep being, and there was a lot of loneliness, and there was a lot of there was a real crucible of formation that happened. And there were times where I kind of was still trying to fit in, because that looked like everyone else is doing that, and that would be nice, thanks. It never worked, thank God. And then came to, it feels like there's just been different layers. So there was that kind of formative time, and then along the way more invitations. So when my first marriage ended and I left organized religion as you know it, there was this complete, it felt like watershed moment where I just felt stripped back completely. And that was the greatest pain I'd ever known. That felt like it was taking me close to death, and even had some suicidality at the time. And then again, another whole journey of reclamation, and that was just a complete world shift then. But then there's these other invitations that just keep coming, and I feel like layer upon layer, we just get better and better. We just get more and more of that fire purifying out the bits that no longer serve us if we let it, I guess. I just wanted to touch on that, because I feel like it's one thing to say, let's stand in our power but it's not for the faint-hearted, it is a courageous choice. And I guess for me, one of the key pieces to be able to continue to do that was finding other people that get it, finding other people and surrounding yourself more and more with voices or mentorship where people are also walking their own path, walking their own rhythm. You don't get it in the mainstream collective generally.
That's a beautiful piece. Being involved in a project like this, absolutely massive, to sign on and be fully surrounded by people that are totally thinking on your wavelength. It's been so transformational. And I love that, because what you were touching on, babe, around, you know, it's not for the faint-hearted, and there is the darkness. And for me, you know, I don't see the darkness as a bad thing, hence my business, Dark Empress Enterprises. Like, I literally want to take you to the dark. That's where we're going to grow. That's where we want to head. I want to get out of the light and actually go to the dark and help integrate. And as you said, if you let that integration happen of all of the lessons and all of the gold that's dropped in along all of the challenges, right? And then all of the beauty and all of the beautiful experiences as well. And so in that conversation, and I mean, I don't know whether you've covered this to the depth that you want to, babe, but you know, thinking about this journey to being and, you know, fully or unapologetically authentic, what for you ladies feels like, you know, has been the greatest challenge? And then also, where's the biggest successes that you've had, or what is the most fulfilling success for you? So for me personally, you know, I think the greatest challenge for me is that I now no longer speak to anyone I'm biologically related to other than my 2 children. So in claiming, and, you know, for me, as you guys were mentioning earlier, you know, that moment, that whether there was a pivotal moment or whether, you know, like for Adele, it was like she always just sort of knew she had to follow this path. For me, there was really a pivotal moment where I was like, I have to, like Naomi, I have to stand up and be real here or fucking die, because it's almost like this sense of, if I don't back myself in this moment, I can never fucking claim integrity again for the rest of my life. And, you know, that involved, you know, a really difficult conversation with someone that I love deeply and I thought would be in my life for absolutely forever. And then that ultimately led to the fact that I then have no contact with my family at all. So, you know, my mum's alive, my sisters are alive, my aunties, my cousins, etc. But there was really open and honest conversations. And the thing that was lacking for me was, and I actually went through a grief ceremony in December where I had this aha moment where I realized that in these conversations, specifically with my mum, there was not radical self-responsibility taken on both sides. And what I'd already pointed out prior to this conversation with my mum was that the cycles of trauma have passed down through lineages of our family. And for me, I could actually see that it was getting passed down to my kids and then between my kids. So it was very clear to me what was happening and that this would then continue to spiral and continue to affect the next generation. And I was like, I'm not standing for this. I just cannot let this happen. So because the dialogue couldn't continue in a way where we were both heard, we both felt safe to express, and we both felt like we were going to be supported moving forward, I made a really difficult decision. And it was like, we just can't have a relationship any longer. And I absolutely adore my mum. If you ask me about my mum, if you ever want to sit with me or call me and have a conversation about my mum, like, I will tell you how fucking brilliant she is and how amazing she is. Like, she's a phenomenal, phenomenal woman. But I totally get and have deep compassion for the fact that she is who she is. So there's this sense of deep acceptance, which I've come to for myself and then with everybody around me. And that, you know, ripples no matter what happens, whether someone stays in my sphere or not. Like, it's all about acceptance, right? Letting people be who they are. But for me, that was the pivotal moment where I was like, I have to be me moving forward. And I'd always been the black sheep of the family. I'd always stood out, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But I could see my life was creating these patterns. And then what that did for me, I actually then moved on to be able to make huge changes in life, huge astronomical changes, where now I'm living this life where, you know, I was telling Naomi this morning, my kids get annoyed because I walk around like every day or every other day saying, oh, how fucking good is our life? How good is our house, guys? I just love our house. I love our house. Like, and I just am obsessed with how great my life is. It's not to say that I'm not willing to go to the dark, right? Like, there's moments where it's like, oh, fuck, I need to look at that. That doesn't feel good. But overall, I've created a life out of that one choice of going, I'm going to actually curate the life I want, full of the experiences that I really love and enjoy most, and surrounded by people that I really adore and that I know get me, people that are willing to accept me, love me unconditionally. And if they're not, that's okay. They can come in for a time. You know, everyone's allowed their piece, but I'm very like clear on where my feminine containment sits and who's allowed all the way in, and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So that was a really pivotal moment. And that was probably the greatest challenge for me, was letting go of my family, because my family's not dead. They're all still living. But there's huge grieving process that, and it comes sometimes, it still comes up sometimes, you know. Went through some big shit at the end of last year. I was like, all I want to do is call my mum. I moved into this house 2 months ago and I was like, I just want to ring my mum, you know. So there's that deep sadness that comes at some moments, and you're still processing and you're still integrating some of these experiences. But they feed off each other, you know, because I understand all the experiences I've had. As I said earlier, I'm successful because of them, not in spite of them. And when I say successful, I mean as the woman, like being me. I'm successful in being me and actually loving myself. I'm successful at loving myself in my life because of my experiences. So that is really my most fulfilling success, and that I've, you know, become the mum I always wanted to be. Because I can tell you now, when I was not, you know, deeply connected to myself, I was not the mum I wanted to be. You know, there was not nice moments. And, you know, that was impacted by lots of things. There was postnatal depression and shitty relationships and all the things. But I take full responsibility for all of that, you know, and now have these beautiful children that I feel, maybe I'm biased, are, you know, doing really well and growing into these amazing young men that are fucking awesome, you know, tapped into their spirit, tapped into their gifts, fully conscious of other people and tapped in and connected to others, you know, thoughtful and all the things. So for me, you know, it's been, I think the biggest challenge has also brought about the biggest success for me, like the most fulfillment. So I'd love to hear, back on the back of what Naomi shared, like, yeah, it's not all roses, man. Like, we know that. We all know that. So where have the roses fucking died and stabbed you really bad? And what did you do with the blood after you smeared it all over yourself and became a wild woman? What happened next?
All right, I want to go because my whole chapter is literally about last year and the dark fucking tunnel vortex that I just delved right into, because my whole life honestly had mostly been in the light, like from as young as I can remember. Like, everyone basically used to think that what, you're so fucking joyful all the time, you know, but not in a bad way. Like, sometimes they'd say it like, how are you so happy, blah blah blah, and I'd be like, yeah, I am really happy, you know, like my life is great. And but last year, so this is the greatest challenge and the greatest like reward from being authentic and going through this journey, is that I had to fucking see my shit that I didn't know that was there. And so it was almost like, yes, you're living authentically to the point that you know yourself. And there's a lot of stuff you don't know. And yeah, so last year was this massive year of it was a bit of everything, and I just find it actually quite timely. I'll just piece out some of what's happened today. This morning, as I woke up and arrived at the gym to teach, I was circled by 2 bats, like just circling me as I arrived. And I was like, all right. And to me, bats have always arrived at a time of immense power shift and that death of an old part and coming into a new version of me. And I'm bleeding today, and I bled just after the bats. So it was like this, and I'm actually slightly early than when I normally am. So it's like this, you know, the universe is just fucking so on point with its timing of like, it's time to shed it. It's time to shed it, girl. You're about to be launched into the stratosphere. And so, yeah, last year, I conceived with my partner and then miscarried. But through that process was a process of journeying with sexuality and trying to work out where we're at, because I was with my partner for 6 years, and we were then trying to work out what our desires were, and kind of cracking open that Pandora's box led to some pretty significant challenges, which I kind of break down in my chapter, and also led to like full Kundalini awakening, which then led to conceiving the next day. Actually, the timing of this is, it's literally almost a year ago today. And so then that just led into the whole year. I'd built up my tribe, my soul tribe and sisterhood, to the point that when all of this went down, you spoke, Steph, about unconditional love, and those people that can just be in your life who, when shit hits the fan, are just there no matter what the fuck you've done. Like, they're just there. And honestly, I could cry at these women that are right by my side now, you know, this like non-judgmental, just right there. And this is my prayer for every woman and every man and every child, to have this tribe beside them where, you know, it does not have to be family, and likely it's not going to be, right? It's like very rare that would actually happen. And and I think it's a challenge to do shit differently. But it's also like, if I had have gone through what I went through last year without having been authentic leading up to that point of then I don't really like that term, early birth. Let's change it now. Early birth, because it's a portal and it's worthy. And without kind of going through all of that lead up, I would never have been able to surrender into the women and be held in ceremony and let it be a sacred rite of passage and let it be all that it is. And I could not be more fucking grateful. And like, you know, since then, I don't know why, but I've had so many mums like leading up to that process and beyond. I've been surrounded by so many mums, like people usually not of my age, and there's something going on with the children and the role for the children, and every time you say the word and I think about the children, it's just so potent for what we are creating right now in stepping courageously into being unapologetic, and what that will do for our world and globally, if you want to keep expanding it out, way out, and let the energy continue to flow into all the magic that it is. I just want to share one song that came through when Naomi was speaking about surrounding yourself with your soul tribe, because that's the word I give it. You said something else, but soul tribe is what came up. Soul tribe, gather with your soul tribe, gather with your soul tribe, soul tribe, Soul tribe, gather with your soul tribe, gather with your soul tribe.
Oh, babe.
Awesome, darling. Wow. Just witnessing all your journeys. You know, the most profound, and I use the word profound, healing I've had was through other women's stories, my clients' stories. Really witnessing each other through our stories is just so beautiful, and it really invites us to be even more vulnerable and then even more unapologetic within our truth. Yeah, Adele, love you, darling, and really just honor your journey, you know. But I'd love to share my biggest challenge of relationships, man. They suck. They're beautiful and they suck in a big way. And my biggest teachers was the biggest hurt that I've ever experienced in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And people that I really, really, truly trusted, and people that I thought were my friends. And they taught me so much about actually being truthful, having boundaries, setting boundaries for yourself, and being truly within, you know, that space of what does unapologetic mean for you? What does authenticity mean for you, right? And I was going to say that there is no way that I would have been able to allow who I am and what was being birthed into being through my work and through everything. It's like that thing that you think you've dealt with and then it creeps up on you and bites you in the ass, okay? I would have never been able to deal with that without my soul tribe. So the most beautiful things that I've ever, I suppose, in this lifetime, and I used to ask spirits, send me a friend, just one friend, you know, that will get me, that will get my crazy, will get my, you know, my quirkiness, my creativity, my depth, that will get all of that, right? And I got that friend, and then I got 10, 20, 30, 50, hundreds, and now I've got lots of friends, right?
Yes.
Soul tribe, and it's magical, and it's beautiful. But also you have to have this sense of looking at the polarity. There cannot be dark without light, and there cannot be light without dark, right? And so those moments, those challenging moments, were really pivotal moments in my life to really help me. I remember the most horrible thing that ever happened to me was I had this beautiful friend, and she was the psychic medium, and I was assisting her at the time, and she was traveling all over the country, and I was helping her because I was running an events management company at the same time, whilst discovering myself and also working in corporate. And she just shut me down completely. One day she decided she didn't want to be my friend anymore, and she just went, that's it. And I knew this was because it's that mirror, right? It's that mirror reflection of like, what is it that I'm feeling here? And I knew what she was feeling, but it really smacked me through the face again and went, okay, well, you have to go, you know, thank her for being in your life in this moment. And there were many other, the same patterns playing out until I realized that I didn't really, in that moment, I needed to take the lesson. I didn't need that person. There's a real kind of thing. You don't need them. You stand in your own sovereignty through really fully accepting who you are. And that was such a beautiful moment for me. And when I accepted who I was without having the emotional charge associated with a relationship as such, that's when my whole channel opened up, my whole heart opened up, and I radiated and I vibrated out. And then so many more came to me. And I am forever grateful for that. I'm grateful for all the dark shit, and I'm grateful for all the beautiful light that it has brought and is bringing into my life every day.
So powerful. Penny, do you want to share, darling? Or Naomi, did you have more to share on that one?
Oh, well, look, I guess I was just thinking, around like the analogy of, and I use this in my chapter. This is one of I use a lot of symbology and a lot of kind of that metaphoric language, myth, storytelling. But the snake, it doesn't always even have to be that there's so much a death as a shedding. And I think I mean, that's the catchphrase, isn't it? Like shedding in authenticity to become uniquely you. I have a pet snake. I'm actually looking at him right now. He sits across on the other side of the room. Winston is his name.
Oh my God.
Anyway, but look, I just really feel like there is that. It's like we outgrow. And if we don't take the invitation, to shed, then we stagnate. And I guess I've watched him shed. Like after I've worked with snakes for a long time. But when I watched him shed, it made so much sense to me because, he went through these phases where he had to withdraw from the world to prepare and sit in his own darkness. And they excrete this kind of liquid within their skin so that it loosens up. So it's kind of like sitting in, and it kind of stinks actually. But it's like this, you're sitting in your shit basically, and then he has to rub up against hard things to help like slough off that skin, and then once he's done that, once that process, which is quite arduous, he has to recuperate, so I really have felt that, and I can see that at different times in my life, sometimes it's quite an extended period of having to sit in that. Potentially even because, like I reflect back to when I lived through about 8 years of my eldest daughter being severely affected by drugs, alcohol, and mental health stuff. And it was probably the hardest thing I've ever done, just to keep her alive. And I was in hypervigilance, and we were in and out of hospitals, and there was no real help. And I guess that's why I do a lot of what I do in the mental health and wellbeing industry. But the most powerful thing, like in terms of that idea of smearing the blood, I love that analogy, Steph.
I know. We've got a few comments about that online. I'm glad that it's hit it.
Yeah, I can see.
Suck them up.
But there's that like out of that time, I just really channeled my grief. There was so much grief, and it wasn't just my grief, I really felt like that. So there was a grief for this whole like collective experience of our young people feeling they need to leave the earth because the world is so painful, and not being able to really find who they are. And I mean, she's going fantastically now. I'm very proud of her standing in her authenticity. But at the time, I just channeled everything into my art making because that's one of my ways, and that's the way I work with people too at times. And the show that I made, I actually toured overseas, and we had a show in London and Berlin. And in Berlin, there were huge, big textile works with lots of symbology, lots of rich, things. Another whole conversation. But there was a woman who sat in front of one of my pieces, which was of this fiery wattle bird, and it was all around that, like standing in your power, like really grounding down, even though you were in the journey, you were in that space where the snake sits, like this is fucking hard, what do I do? And she sat in front of that image, and she wept. And she said to me, I don't know what this is about, but it's moving me. And something energetic was transpiring, there was this sense of I had made that whilst I was trying to stand in my power, whilst I was trying to stand and stay rooted, whilst the transformation was happening all around me and within me and with my daughter, and it's there. So I feel like we do the work. When we do the work for ourselves, we also are giving permission for others to as well. And everything, it's all connected. So it's this infusion, this beautiful infusion of the more, and I see this and it excites me. I see this here on this call and in our group with all the authors, is the more people, particularly women, that are giving themselves permission to use their voice to kind of say, hang on, that's not working for me anymore. Respectfully, I'm going to change this. the more other women also do. And I feel like there is this sense of like momentum that's building, and we need this now so much now. Anyway, I'm excited.
Oh. Do you have a picture of that piece of art, babe?
Not right, like not like I can just go bing bing bing. It's the front page of my, one of my websites, and there'll be links that'll be coming up in the chapter. So yeah, you can see my art through that.
Okay. Awesome. Penny, did you want to share? Otherwise, you feeling good?
Yep, I'm good. I'm just, loving this conversation and relating to everything that has been said. Love it. The only thing I do want to say is I couldn't agree more with what Naomi has been talking about when she talks about it's not an easy ride to do. It isn't, and it's not for the faint-hearted. But I refer to the shadow as the gold. And I think Natalie said, everything's got to be in balance, the dark and the light. I mean, that's the equilibrium of life. And I think, because I know for me, the wisdom comes from the shadow. That's all.
I know Naomi and Adele, you both mentioned about really, your hopes and your dreams and how important it is for women to be unapologetic right now. So let's go further into that. Like, I want to know from you women, like, in terms of the legacy that you intend to impart on this world, what is there for you? And you think about that, and you think about that in terms of being an totally unapologetically authentic in life. What are your hopes and dreams moving forward to be able to bless this world with? Because it's huge, like you were saying, Adele, like for our kids right now, like it's important. It's so important. And totally agree with Naomi. It is the time. And I love witnessing women right now using their voice and the inspiration and the permission that that's giving other women to do the same. So, I'm fully surrounded by women like that. I'm so blessed. But what is, for each of us here, what is the legacy that we're really wanting to impart? What's our desire down that path? Because that's a whole nother rabbit hole. We do a whole nother call on. Go, Penny, go.
That's a really good question. It's a very deep question. The legacy that I want to leave in relation to my two boys, when I think of them first, is to always be in their center, to always be fully the truth of who they are without fear, despite the challenges that can bring. And that was an important motivator for me in doing the work that I've done to return to being unapologetic. So, lead by example, as they say. And I can see some of that happening. But I also have two teenage boys, 16 and 14, and my youngest one has special needs. And he's been subjected to a lot of labels and a lot of the stuff that I talked about a little bit earlier. But I'm starting to see, because of the journey that I've taken, I'm starting to see him. Because we allow him to be himself. We don't make him wrong. In quite the opposite, we've actually, and when I say we, I'm talking about me. I've been a single parent for a number of years, and my eldest son, but also my new partner is also like this, which is beautiful. We allow him to be him, and we don't make him wrong, and we allow ourselves to open to the wisdom that he has to offer. And in doing that, he's becoming, he's been himself and whatever that looks like in that given moment, and it doesn't matter. So close to home, that's my dream and aspiration, and the thing I really, really want to make sure in my lifetime that I actually get to see. From a out there in the world perspective, that my journey home to myself to my authentic self is why I do the work that I now do. I mean, I am an authorized marriage celebrant, yes, and that is a beautiful honor that I really, truly love. That's my creative side. But I actually wrote a program, Journey Home to Soul, because of how important I feel it is that we do everything that you beautiful women have spoken about today. You know, the more people that are confident and safe and willing to take the ride, to do the journey, the more people that we have like that in the world, the less judgmental and difficult the world will be, and the more creativity. And you know, I dream of a world where that's normal, and of all the wonder and delight that doing that will actually bring forth. And there'll be, you know, more unity, more, you know, coming from that loving part, more learning. Because if we open our minds to learn from those that are being unapologetically themselves, the wisdom and courage and strength that they offer us is amazing. So that's my dream.
Powerful. Who's next?
Amy, thank you. Everything, yeah, totally resonates. Thank you for saying that. I feel also, you know, coming back to the children again. So Adele, you are the leader of the future generations as such. Okay, so you ignite those leaders, and it's so important that we celebrate our children, that we as light leaders and light workers, mamas and fathers, you know, that we really see our children for who they are. And touching on what Penny said, you know, our children have really been put in a box and put on a scale, and you know, and so it's about honestly celebrating, but also helping people get to that point of understanding of what the new earth looks like, what the new world looks like, how they can function, be creative, operate, and really anchor themselves in a world that they are not used to, right? So it's about helping to build the foundations, and we are very much we have been in the last year building foundations, and we're moving into really laying solid foundations, and then activating those master builders. And that's where my work comes into, really helping bring those people forward to lay solid foundations. And how we do that, and I suppose leaving my legacy is truly to help people remember that we are not our fear, we are not the crazy, okay? We are so much more than just this physical form, and that we can bring what we know from lifetimes that we have lived and experienced. We can bring all of those gifts, everything, the magic, the medicine, all of those beautiful things together in this lifetime to really build a world that is built on harmony, peace, co-creation, and sovereignty and simplicity. We've started overcomplicating our lives way too much, right? And the message from Spirit has been over the last 2-3 years that I've been channeling through, simplify your life. So I think the main thing is to really assist humanity to awaken to that simplicity. What does it mean for them? And also to help them learn skills that have been lost, you know. For instance, the younger generation being able to grow their own food, being able to sew their own clothes, being able to help them navigate the challenges that we certainly have navigated in our lives, right? So I feel for me, it's very much awakening, activating those leaders that's here to step up and say, I'm here to break down the foundations of the old, and I'm here to build the new foundations and bring through the builders to be able to create this world. And yeah, projects and all sorts of things, really activating and igniting people to what is possible. That excites me, right? because we're moving into a completely different way of being, where we're using telepathy eventually instead of cell phones. You know, we're moving into using or working with energy and creating matter from energy. We're moving into learning different skills and being able to really access a lot of different things. So that excites me to be able to bring all of that information through, and new organic technology, new light codes, and everything that's really to help us as humanity. Yeah, just to leave this place a better, or just leave this world a better place. And one thing that came to me just when you were talking, Penny, was really allowing our children to experience this world, and our grandchildren and their children to come and swim in the seas and climb the trees and, you know, be children, be in this world, but be in it together in acceptance and love and grace and peace with each other. Yeah.
All right, I'll try and keep it as short as I can because we must be running out of time shortly. Except the time is timeless. Okay, first thing, just flowing on from Natalie about the children, and the thing that was coming through really strongly was this, that I didn't speak to before, was about play and the joy and the childlike nature. And I mentioned earlier about the light that people always saw in me when I was growing up, and then I almost rejected my light because I was like, well, I'm one-dimensional then. I don't want to be one-dimensional. I know I'm more than that. So I kind of rejected it, and then I welcomed it back in. And when I welcomed it back in, it's almost like it's come back with like, it's just more. It's this, like, it's been the most challenging thing to embody, almost as in like unapologetically embody it. But it's been, I feel like it is one of the most important things, because ultimately if you ask someone, you know, what do you wish for your children, or like, what do you wish for people? It's like, oh, I just really want them to be happy, or something like that. You know, I just really want them to be, yeah. And then when it comes down to it, I'm like, well, okay, if we're living our days and we're doing a thing to get somewhere, but in the thing that you're doing, you're not in this like pure joy or like pure whatever you want to be, then is what you're doing like, and I think that's the thing that's been guiding me for now so long, is like, okay, this feels pretty yucky, and sometimes things don't feel aligned when you're doing it to get, you know, if you're creating something big, of course you need to do things that you may not fucking love, but ultimately for me it's like, how can I play more, and how can that light just burst through in every moment, and I become aware that my energy is more than just whatever's happening here. It's like, it's a constant field, and I now live up the top of this mountain. I feel, honestly, it sounds crazy, but I feel this like intense responsibility to purify my energy constantly, because it feels like it's just rolling down the hill and into the valley. And I used to live by the waters, but now we've like up leveled into this tree house, and it feels like it just pours down into the valley, and I have never been more like clear in my life until kind of we've moved up here. I'm like, this is a whole nother level. So the thing that I see and the vision that I have, and this has partly come from me, but also my soul tribe, when they, you know, you pick up pieces along the way. This is Metatron's cube that I've been wearing for about 1.5 years. And then when you flip it like that and you extend it out, it's kind of like a tree. And so I'm a directive 6 in the tree of life, which means I'm right like in the center of the tree. So, and my name is also translated means harmony. And there's this thing happening around balance and like coming home, divine union between masculine and the feminine, coming home right into the center, and then the branches blossoming out, the roots are going deep, And I feel a responsibility to be this like solid base, like an anchor where people can dance around and they have somewhere to like come back and just be like, oh my gosh, I did this thing, and I'm just here in like loving awareness of their epicness, that they're just dancing, and I'm like, yeah, go you. And the visuals is like this. It's like golden circles. And I actually just in this moment was like, wow, my name starts with an O, and I've thought of that before, but also in this moment it's like dropped in even stronger. It's a fucking circle. And
It's community.
I see that. I see
Wholeness.
circles of golden circles, like in the tree branches, everywhere across, and that's like pockets of golden light, literally all over the world. And so yeah, beyond me just holding circles and holding space, my vision and what I can see is that people learn how to hold space, people learn how to be in sacred ceremony, be in ritual, and let that fucking spread like wildfire and light this place up.
Oh, babe. Far out.
Oh, yes.
I love it. And
That's it. That's all.
oh,
That's all.
That's all. Love it.
that's all. That's all. I'm just a fucking anchor for the whole world. Putting golden lights across the whole universe. Like, that's all. Legacy. Like, you're just magic. And for me, that speaks volumes, a few things that you touched on, because a big piece, well, the crux of what I do is about supporting women to find balance in business and life and within themselves. And you touched on the union of the masculine and feminine energies. And also as an Aboriginal woman, our whole culture is based on balance. Everything is about balance. And we've swayed so far from that, as you were saying, Natalie, we've swayed so far into this place of overcomplicating things. I'm like, yes, let's bring it back. You know, our fucking ancestors were wise. They had the answers. They know the stuff, you know. And I mean our ancestors as in, you know, wherever you are in the world, whatever country they lived on, they knew what was right for that place. And I just love your vision, Adele. All of you women, like, it's mind-blowing. But yeah, for me, it is about bringing balance back to people's lives, and also to igniting within them this sense, you know, in being unapologetic and being that way shower, right? Leading by example, as a few of us have spoken about. Allowing everyone to see, you know, yes, while I say I work with women, I'll work with fucking whoever wants to work with me, as long as it, you know, as long as the vibe's right. But being able to support people to actually have that most supreme sense of self-connection, that their self-belief is unwavering, and not have them question themselves. And, you know, as we see it in kids when they're like, I can't do it. And then you just support them to try a few times, and then their self-belief builds, and then they start to do things that they weren't doing previously, you know, like walk, you know, crazy things, and then tap into spirit and, you know, all this stuff that I know my kids do. And I'm sure all of our kids, you know, do that on some level, because we're all fucking awesome women that live on that planet. And but the world to see that connection to spirit and physical as the balance, and to live that in balance and in harmony, and to not doubt their genius, to be able to tap in, every individual person to be able to tap in and understand what your spirit given genius is. What is your role? What is, you know, when I speak about culture, like, we all had our role. Everybody had their role in the mob, in the tribe, in the community, whatever it was. And everyone knew everyone else's role. No one got out of their lane. Everyone stayed in their lane and did their thing, and trusted that the other person whose job it was to find the fish or make the nets or, you know, kill a bear. Like, they did that. They knew what they were doing, and they would do that, and I will do my thing because I know that that's going to give back in abundance to my family, to my world around me. So for me, you know, my legacy in being unapologetic really does come back to being balanced and being of balance and supporting people to absolutely tap in. And for me, I use the word reawaken their genius and live it, like truly actually live it, not just dream about it, but fucking embrace it and just give yourself full permission to live it. And you know, that is so multifaceted, and you know, I'm going to leave it there. But when we talk about balance, for me, you know, that's across everything. That's across the gamut, with your mental health, with your physical health, your sexual health, you know, relationships, as you touched on, babe. Yeah, they're a fucking journey, right? Like, you know, being able to be healthy in all areas, as well as in tune with the earth and spirit, and tap in and be fully supported there and in balance, totally in balance with that. So that's my plan for my legacy when I'm far beyond this world. Hopefully that's what I impart. What about you, Naomi? Share with us. You brilliant.
Oh wow! I just, you know, I'm just sitting here in awe of all of these beautiful intentions. You know, that you're. I mean, I'm already witnessing you ladies breathe into the world as it is. You know, yeah, powerful. And I guess that really kind of just plays into what I was just kind of feeling into a little bit of that myself. And I don't know. I'm really coming to a place where I just showing up, you know, like I have a lot of dreams. I have a lot of like you know, I have far more like the creative fire burns. I have far more ideas than I could possibly imagine fulfilling in with one lifetime. But I'm just really showing up and fully inhabiting myself more and more and more. And I guess the more I do that, I feel like there's like the inspiration. Like I would love, like if I was to ever do anything for anyone, it would be to inspire them to learn to love themselves, inspire them to know how to travel, you know, into the belly of the earth to retrieve the parts of themselves that they've lost, to inspire them to really taste the deep nectar of what it means to fulfill their full sensuous being, you know, in this life. Like, it's just so precious. And the more of that flavor, like this fully embodied here inhabited self, the more of that happens in me, whether that's, you know, through teaching yoga or making art or sitting with someone in deep grief or running, you know, workshops or retreats or whatever the shapes they take, it kind of just comes back to my legacy is me. Yeah. And I feel like even more so I need that. And it's not all, obviously my heart longs to share like everything that brings me joy and life and kind of I guess an awakened sense of being. I can't help myself. Like the next thing I'm doing is like I'm writing about it in a book or I'm creating an artwork. But so it just kind of comes through, you know. But I guess that's that we are creative beings, and the more we really allow ourselves to fully be here, the more that happens, you know. The more I'm up there kind of always thinking, oh, I've got to do the things and I've got to do the things, and the less I'm here. So yeah. I feel like that's kind of what's happening for me at the moment in terms of I'm thinking about legacy. And the more I do that, like I remember you saying just before, Steph, like when you started really taking ownership of your of what you needed, your family life became better. And I see that too with my kids, you know, with my 4 kids. They're all very unique beings, and some of them, they go through phases where they reject, you know, this weird mama stuff like that I do. But they come around, you know. My older 2 have come around, and they kind of really, they are doing that too now. So it's just, again, it's that permission thing. I feel like if I can get to my last breath and know that every breath I've taken has been as close to, if not fully embodied in all that I could be, then I have done everything that's needed.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to put out one last little snippet for everybody, and then we're going to wrap this up because we're almost at 90 minutes. But I would love to hear from you women, 1 or 2 words or concepts that you would recommend for anyone listening to this, anyone tuning in that's thinking, fuck, where do I start on this unapologetic journey to fully becoming authentic and embodying the depths of who I am? 1 or 2 ideas or like concepts or words to support them on that. I'll go first. My 2 would be curiosity and by far radical self-responsibility. Naomi?
Oh, well, I mean, the first thing that came to my head was like, buy the book and read it.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, oh God, you know, it wasn't meant to be a sales pitch, but it totally is. Like, this is,
Totally,
you know,
makes
these
sense.
stories. Yeah, and these stories are really, they're maps, you know, they're maps for how it can look. And there's, you know, so much there. It's rich. So yeah, I'm just going to keep it simple.
Perfect. Penny?
Oh, it's so funny. I've actually forgotten because the first words that came to me were journey home to soul. Oh no, there we go. Courageous vulnerability.
Beautiful. Adele?
It just blanked. Actually, the first thing now is sister circle, like getting into some form of circle. Like, I know a lot of people think about it but don't go, but just rip that band-aid off and do it. And support, like, look, like, see if you can find someone. Like, all you need is one, like Natalie said, all you need is one. And and just on Naomi's topic, tomorrow we're going to talk right about becoming I am a creative being. That's going to be tomorrow's topic too. So
that's going to be
tune in with us for that bad boy.
Good. Natalie?
Yeah, I wanted to say the book as well. That was the first thing that came in. So thank you, Naomi, for voicing that, because there is so much wisdom and so much magic and medicine and juicy, you know, content and information in there. But I feel like own your shit, you know, if I have to put it out there, is own it. Radical responsibility is such a beautiful word for it. See yourself, hear yourself, know yourself. That's it.
Amazing.
Thank
you, beautiful women. It's been such a joy to be in this space with you. Absolutely adore each and every one of you and highly recommend buying the book. As you can see, these women are fucking mind-blowing and truly inspirational. I love that point that you made, Naomi. You know, your legacy is just to be inspirational, and I think that's exactly what we all are. And that's phenomenal, you know, to be surrounded by people that are so inspirational. So thank you for inspiring me along this whole journey over the last 7-8 months, I think it's been
6 months.
It's been amazing. And keep tuning into the roundtables, everybody. I think we covered all of the questions and comments, and thank you to everybody that's engaged in the live feed on Facebook. It's been amazing to have your support, and we hope that we've given you guys loads of value. And if you want to reach out to any of us, please do. I'm sure we're all happy for people to just connect and find us online, and you'll find us all through the group. And stay tuned for the rest of the party. Jump in and buy the book tomorrow. It'll be released 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. And again, thank you to you beautiful women, Natalie, Adele, Penny, Naomi. Thank you.
Thanks, Steph.
And thank you to you, Steph, for facilitating.
Thank you.
Big love, beautiful ladies.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.